Hey everyone, I'm Keisha Charmaine and I'm back and I'm gonna try to make this review really quick. I'm not feeling good at all. I have all these mosquito bites on my face. My eye is swollen from spraying some cleaning solution in my eyeball and I feel really sick. So this is episode 3. I'm gonna bunch up the storylines. So we'll start off with Molly. She decided to drop her therapist. I think her therapist was a little too real for her, a little too honest. She wasn't really ready for it. I don't know what she's looking for in a therapist, but there was a scene where she went to the, I guess like a furniture store, and she picked up some shelves, and you know the guy, he says, oh, do you need help? She's like, no, I can get this on my own. And then she tries to lift the box of shelves down the stairs in her work clothes and her stilettos, and she's struggling. There's a man, he's just standing there watching her struggle, and the guy who offered her help is watching her struggle as well. I feel like she's trying to prove a point that she's independent. And then she sees the man who was the black guy who was watching her. He's helping another woman with her box, and she's looking at that kind of longingly, like, I wish I had a man who would help me with boxes and stuff. I guess that's, I don't know what she was thinking for sure, but I could tell she was feeling lonely at the moment. She goes out with Issa later on, and she meets a guy in the club, and he's everything that she wants on paper, but he's coming across a little thirsty. They go on a date, and he expresses to her that, you know, I wish that I could just fast forward to the future where everything is all set. You know, I got my husband, I got my wife and kids and my property, and everything's all good. Do you ever feel like that? And Molly's like, yeah, I feel like that sometimes too. And then, you know, later on she calls Issa to tell her about the date, and it sounds like it went really well, but she's kind of like, you know, something about it turned her off. And it's kind of ironic because that's exactly how Molly had behaved whole season 1. You know, she's just making sure that the guys that she dates have everything on the list so she can check it off. And if he's lacking something, or if something is not quite right, then she would dismiss it. But if they had everything, you know, then she was on it, like, you know, being like that annoying girl who's kind of pushing her expectations too soon, and, you know, putting pressure on the guy like too soon. So I guess that's kind of what he's doing to her, and I guess she's realizing how much of a turnoff that can be. But I think it's kind of silly because Molly, like, this is everything that you wanted. Like, you want a guy to ignore you. You want a guy who's perfect for you to ignore you. I don't know. Girl, she gotta get her life. You know, he invites her out to the SZA concert. She said she curves him, was like, oh no, can't make it, sorry. Then he immediately asks her out, like, to dinner on Monday, and she just doesn't respond at all. She's blowing it, because I know for a fact, maybe in a couple months, if she sees him holding hands with another woman down the street, she's gonna feel jealous, like, oh man, that could have been me, I could have had my man. That's the type of woman Molly is. But she'll have to learn the hard way. She's really difficult. So now let's go to Lawrence. So Lawrence, they finally show like a little bit more of his dynamic at his workplace. We see some of his employees, his co-workers, and we see their relationship, and it seems pretty casual because they know each other's business. You know, apparently one hooked up with the other one at a mixer that they have, and another mixer was coming up, so they invited Lawrence. Oh, you should come to the mixer. He's like, oh well, I got a commitment. I'm supposed to go to this barbecue or whatever. There's a scene where Lawrence and Tasha are laid up, and she's watching TV. She's having a good time. She's into it. You know, she got her scarf on. She's like ready for bed, pajamas, all that. She did mention TGIT, so it's Thursday, so they're finally hanging out during the week. You know, in the past they were only hanging out on the weekends, so that it looks like a little progress in their relationship. At least that's how it seems, especially since, you know, she's wearing her scarf and stuff and she's comfortable with him. But he's pushing up on her, and she's just like, yo, stop, like, How to Get Away with Murder is coming on, like, what are you doing? Stop, Viola, hello. And at that moment I realized, okay, they're not on the same page. she's getting more comfortable because he's giving her signs that like he's ready to progress in their relationship. He's not doing it on purpose, obviously, but this is how she's interpreting it. Like, and this is how women will interpret certain things. A man can say, not even, I shouldn't just say a man, but like people can say certain things, but actions tend to speak louder than words. So even if you tell someone this is not a relationship, but when you're doing certain things, you may understand, okay, this is not a relationship, but it feels like it's gonna progress and move towards that. So that's where Tasha's head was at. And clearly Lawrence is not on the same page. He just wanted to hook up, and he didn't really want to watch TV at all. So that scene was a little awkward. So the barbecue, the family barbecue comes, and you see all her family and family friends. She said she introduced her play uncle to Lawrence and stuff. And you know, Lawrence is a little uncomfortable because Tasha's people, they're a little hood, you know, and he's not. You know, he's wearing like a button up, button down, whatever you call it, at a barbecue, like where they do that at. Yeah, he's just really uncomfortable. And then, you know, like it's just too much going on. It was too overwhelming for him. So he gets a text from one of his coworkers about reminding him about the mixer. And he says, you know what, I gotta go to this work thing, Tasha. I'll be back later. And she's like, okay, cool. You know, she's not like a nag or anything. So she was like, yeah, sure, whatever. See you later. Oh, and they were giving each other like greeting kisses and like goodbye kisses, pet kisses. So that's very relationshipy. It is. I mean, to be doing in public, that's pretty relationshipy. So I see he was kind of leading her on to believe that they were progressing a little bit. Like, leave me a comment below, fellas, if you're watching this. Like, let me know about your opinions on like those kind of mixed signals. Like, do you expect a woman to just be like, listen, I said this, so don't worry about my actions at all? And how would you feel if, you know, the roles were reversed, if a woman was telling you one thing but her actions are telling you something else? I don't, that's talk. Yeah, he ends up having a great time with his coworkers. You know, the drinks are coming in, they're flowing in, and he keeps like pushing it off, like, oh, I'll come later, I'm coming later. And then he just doesn't come at all, and it's over. I don't remember if he called her or she called him, but they're saying she's like upset, like that was so embarrassing. You came for a second and you left, like you met some of my family, and like that's so embarrassing, like you just left. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, like, and she's like, I understood what we were. I realized we weren't in a relationship. I know we're just having fun, but you were kind of leading me on. So you know what, like you think you're such a nice guy, but you're an F-boy. You are, and you're the worst kind of F-boy because you're the F-boy who thinks that they're a good guy. You know, there's F-boys out here that they know they're F-boys, and they know they're just liars, and they know that they ain't no good, but like that's not Lawrence at all. He's not really an F-boy. He's in this position in his life where he's very unsure of how to move forward. I don't think that he's having issues right now with moving on from Issa. I just think that he's confused as to what's the next step in his life as far as, you know, women. Like, he's not into Tasha like that. Yeah, I think he just doesn't really know what to do. And he was trying to be the nice guy with Tasha. You know, he was doing a little too much, because I think that he thought that that's what he was supposed to do, but it was giving her mixed signals. So it made her pretty upset, and she hung up on him, and then he just, you know, went on to continue partying with his coworkers. I'm curious as to see if that's the end of Tasha, or if not. If it's anything like real life, it's probably not the end yet. It'll probably take a few strikes before she's probably completely over it. But and last but not least, we'll talk about Issa. And I can already tell, I think I was able to tell from last episode that Issa, she's gonna really annoy me this season. I think she was really annoying to me last season as well, but she's really gonna be annoying me this season. She completely annoyed the hell out of me this episode. But so basically, you know, every time she walks past that burn in the kitchen, she like gets really annoyed because she thinks about that time where she had that party to try to get Lawrence's attention, and it was a fail, and they burned up her wall. She gets some paint to cover up the burn spot, but there's still a burn on the ceiling. So it's still gonna be a constant reminder. It might not be as strong of a reminder since, you know, she can't see the burn on the wall anymore, but she's gonna see that thing on the ceiling. In the beginning of the episode, she tries to hook up with Luke James, but she's so awkward and she keeps laughing like a 14-year-old girl. She's like giggling, he's getting really annoyed, and she's just like, oh, well, I'm sorry, but your fingers are weird. Okay, so he's just like, oh my god, like, oh, whatever. And she's like, let me just go. And she gets dressed, can't find the door to leave, and awkward as ever. There's a moment where Issa is at Molly's house, and Issa's half-ass attempting to help her build the shelf, but she's not worried about the shelf. She's worried about meeting guys. So she asks for Molly to help her, you know, hook up with guys. So they end up going out to meet guys at some party, and Issa was being her typical awkward self. She's just doing too much. Like, I think her issue is that she just tries too hard. Like, she just needs to relax. Like, I don't know if she's trying to impress guys. I think that's what she's doing. She's trying to be impressive, but you're not smooth. She's just coming across as if she's trying too hard, and it's very obvious. She looks like she's desperate, and it's just not attractive. She doesn't have any look in the club like Molly did, but there's a guy who she sees in her building or her apartment complex, her motel. That's what it looks like anyway. She sees a guy a few times, and she's attracted to him a little bit. She has her eye on him. He's like eye candy for her a little bit throughout the episode when she sees him here and there. There's a moment where, you know, she's frustrated, and she gets her vibrator and tries to play with herself with her vibrator, but her vibrator dies. So she's looking everywhere in her apartment trying to find some batteries. I thought that scene was hilarious because I've heard that scenario happening so many times. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I don't think she gets any luck, doesn't find any batteries, so she's just miserable. But yeah, she ends up coming up with an excuse on how she can talk to the guy. I think his name was Eddie. I think he was young. Was he one of the young guys who Kelly was offering to burp? Was he one of those guys? I don't know, but so she takes her own phone charger and was like, oh hey, I think you left this at my house, like when you came to my party. And he's like, oh yeah, I definitely left it, thanks. Even though later on we see he had his charger, but I guess he just took it as like an invitation for them to start like hanging out. So he's like, oh, you smoke? And she's like, yeah, I love to, or something like that. You can tell she was not genuine. And so she comes and hangs out with him. He's watching, like, I think he's binge watching Gossip Girl, and he's like really into it. And it's really weird because he's like this hood guy. He's kind of hood a little bit. What are you doing watching Gossip Girl? That's so weird. Gossip Girl, one, that show's old. Two, that's for white girls. Like, I don't know, it was really weird. I don't mean not, I mean, I know black girls who used to watch it. I've seen a couple episodes, but I'm just saying, like, he's not the target audience at all for Gossip Girl. And she's, you know, pretending that she's like into it. The whole time she's hanging out with him, she's being completely fake, and you can tell she's just there because she wants to end up hooking up with him. She's not into the conversation at all, anything he has to say. She's just like lying and pretending and being fake. And then, you know, she initiates hooking up with him. She headbutts him. It's awkward, but then like they try again and it's a little smoother. They take things to the bedroom, and it's very awkward. They can't find their footing. Like, they have no chemistry. You can tell they just wanted to get their rocks off, but like they had no chemistry at all. But eventually they ended up finding their groove. And then Issa left when she was finally satisfied. And then at the end of the episode, I think she gets a hit up from somebody else, like another Tinder person or something. And she's like, yay, you know, my hoe phase is kicking in, and I'm being a successful hoe. I don't know. That storyline with Issa is like really annoying me. It's frustrating me. It's hard to watch, I guess. Molly, she's frustrating as hell to me because she tends to like sabotage her blessings. Like when she was dating Jared last season, he was a great guy, and then she threw that away, and she's throwing away this guy. What was his name? Lionel. She's throwing it away before it could even blossom into anything. Lawrence, he's not in this episode. He wasn't frustrating to me like he was in the last episode or the episode before that. I forgot, but sorry, but I felt like I understood Lawrence in this episode. I understood where he was mentally, and you know, he's not trying to be a bad guy at all, but I see why Tasha's upset. I think Tasha is a very likable character. I don't understand the amount of like hate she gets from viewers. I think that a lot of the hate that she gets, a lot like the hate with Angela and Power, I feel like the hate that a lot of women put onto those characters is because they remind them of somebody else in their own personal life, and they're like projecting. Because Tasha, well, Angela from Power is a whole other conversation, because there are reasons why she's not likable, okay? But more so with Tasha, Tasha didn't do anything wrong. If you don't like Tasha, just leave me a comment below so I can argue with you, because yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Sorry I have low energy. Again, I don't feel good, but I'll be better next week. Thanks for watching. Love, light, and locks.